All right, in today's short video, I'm going to give you a basic overview of America's badass soft power. That's our ability to implement foreign policy around the world without firing a shot. Now, of course, the whole globe knows about American military might, especially our adversaries. But what other means do we have at our disposal to get things done? Well, there's a few key federal agencies for that and ways we implement our soft power globally, and starting with the State Department. Now, the State Department actually was the first federal agency ever. The Secretary of State was the first cabinet position actually put in place by none other than President George Washington. Now, the seat was actually filled by Thomas Jefferson, who, of course, later became president himself. Now, since those early days, the State Department has ballooned to a massive federal organization with 270 locations worldwide, mostly embassies or consulates. There's over 69,000 employees and a very, very strong federal budget of $87 billion. For context, that's about on par with the annual revenue of Johnson & Johnson. Now, the State Department's mission is to, quote, work to fight terrorism, protect U.S. interests, and implement foreign policy initiatives. The State Department is the reason why a U.S. passport is so valued overseas. They do work 24/7 to not just protect U.S. citizens, but look after our interests. They get a bad rap sometimes, but they are really doing good work on behalf of the American people 24/7. Which brings me to the next federal agency, USAID. This is what I like to think of as the humanitarian disaster relief arm of the U.S. government, because that is very much what they specialize in. Their stated mission is to promote a peaceful and prosperous democratic world by reducing poverty, strengthening democratic governments, and assisting in humanitarian crises. Little side note, if you've ever watched the news when there's a disaster globally, like a earthquake, tsunami, anything along those lines, natural famine, you will see USAID bags, typically of rice, being provided to the people, and the bags actually, ever since I was a kid, I've noticed they say, from the American people. So you can feel good that USAID is doing good on your behalf around the world. Now, as a federal agency, they have 19,000 employees. They, not surprisingly, have locations based all over the world, and they have a also healthy federal budget of $63 billion. That is about on par with the annual revenue of IBM, for some financial context. Lastly, guys, there are dozens, literally dozens, of small government agencies that don't get a lot of press. Some notable ones, of course, are the Peace Corps. There's other agencies like the U.S. Commission on International Freedom, the Foreign Agricultural Service. I could spend over an hour on this video, but I wanted to let you know there are a lot of government organizations working to not just supplement democratic values, but work on your behalf around the world. Lastly, and then also, we do contribute over 20% of the UN budget. So I know the United Nations is not technically a American agency, but they do work on our behalf, or they do. We do have a very strong voice within the UN, working to implement these same values as well. And then, although it is hard to quantify, we also have American cultural impacts around the world as well. Of course, this is done through Hollywood, through music, rock and roll, hip hop, R&B. America, no doubt, has a stronger cultural influence, probably, arguably, than any other country in the world. Again, difficult to quantify, but that is certainly something that does help us globally as well. So again, this is just a high-level overview of the soft power mechanisms at America's disposal.